It was after midnight in September 2007 when a 20-year-old woman ran out of what was then the Sigma Pi fraternity house onto the street near SDSU. She was barefoot and crying. She was running from her boyfriend of almost a year. Two students saw her and called 911.
And then I just kind of collapsed on my knees after I heard them calling 911 because I knew now that the police have been called, there's no going back. There's no more hiding this from people. There's no more hiding it from my friends.
She'd managed to hide how controlling he was, how abusive. But that weekend, the abuse got worse.
So he threw me against the wall, and then he picked me up again and then threw me on the floor, and I landed on my back. And then I looked up at him, and he was reaching for his huge TV, and I knew he was going to throw it on me. So at that point I realized, if I don't get out of here, he's going to kill me this time. So I got up and I ran to the street.
When the police arrived, she revealed something else. The night before, she said her boyfriend raped and sodomized her. KPBS agreed to protect her identity because she says she was sexually assaulted. She asked us to call her Jennifer, not her real name. Her boyfriend was arrested within hours but released on bail the next day. That meant he would be back on campus. Jennifer filed a complaint with the school's Title IX office. That launched a process typical on college campuses. There would be an investigation and possibly a hearing. These hearings and how colleges handle them are just one of the reasons over 80 schools are being investigated by the federal government. The results of Jennifer's hearing might look like vindication. She says the process rarely felt like justice. Jennifer ended up dropping out of school that fall semester.
I tried to be on campus, but the worst part of it was not only him being on campus, but his entire fraternity was going out of their way to harass me.
His fraternity brothers taunted her on campus. She says one threatened to hit her. She was able to get a 5-year restraining order against her ex-boyfriend. So why would a guy accused of a violent crime not be charged and waiting to go on trial?
There's a very strong burden of proof in criminal court, beyond reasonable doubt.
Jessica Pride is a civil attorney. She says cases like this one and many campus sexual assault cases never make it to court.
Most sexual assaults occur with only two people in the room. It's a he said, she said.
Which is what the DA's office told Jennifer when they dropped the charges in her case. But the campus judicial process is different. Gail Mendez is an attorney with the local rape crisis center.
There's a different standard of proof, and it's a different process. For a campus to find that the accused is guilty, they only need to find it by a preponderance of the evidence, which is more likely than not.
Jennifer's hearing took place in this room. Today's hearings happen much the same way. The main people in the room are an SDSU staff member who gets 3 to 4 hours of training each year and presides over the hearing like a judge. There's a Title IX coordinator who investigated the case and kind of acts like a prosecutor. The accused can have an attorney, but Jennifer says she was told she couldn't have one. An armed police officer was also in the room, only because she asked for that to make her feel safe. Without an attorney, Jennifer felt vulnerable.
They kept asking about why I would go back to him the second night if he had raped me the previous night. So as a victim, I had to kind of explain to them that that's how domestic violence works.
Joe Cohn is a policy director at the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education. He says these hearings aren't fair to the victim or the accused. They're meant to deal with things like cheating on a paper. They're not designed to handle complex felonies.
Especially when they're trying to do this without the benefit of forensics evidence, without the benefit of years of expertise, and without the benefit of the tools that law enforcement professionals and courts bring to bear to sort out fact and fiction. Expecting them to do this well is crazy.
Lee Mintz is SDSU's deputy Title IX coordinator who investigated Jennifer's case. Mintz would only talk generally about the process. She said not to compare what the schools do to the courts. The goal, she said, is different.
If you think of, let's say, a defendant and an attorney, the goal of the attorney is to get their client off of these charges. Our goal is, regardless of what kind of the outcome is, we want the entire process to be educational.
After Jennifer's hearing ended in January, she waited for a decision. She was back at school. Her ex-boyfriend left for an SDSU study abroad program in Spain. He declined to be interviewed for this story. Jennifer was supposed to get the results from the hearing in 15 days. Weeks later, she still hadn't heard.
I would call like once a week asking for a decision. I would email asking what's going on. Why has there not been a decision made?
7 months after she first filed her complaint, Jennifer got a call. Her ex-boyfriend was found guilty and would be expelled. But there was one other thing. Jennifer says Mintz told her she couldn't tell anyone in order to protect the accused's privacy rights.
He's telling all his friends a completely different story than what happened. And I'm not allowed to say, no, look, the school believes me. I went through this hearing and they believed me. They saw all the evidence and they expelled him.
This kind of verbal non-disclosure agreement violates federal guidelines. SDSU did not respond to questions on whether the policy has changed. Even though Jennifer's ex-boyfriend was expelled, he went on to finish his undergrad and get a law degree from George Washington. Just this summer, he sat for the California bar exam in the same room as Jennifer.
Out of the huge room, he ended up in the row right in front of me, directly in front of me.
Today, Jennifer works at a law firm. Her college experiences, both good and bad, have taught her that justice is complicated, slippery even. In a few weeks, the names of those who passed the California bar exam will be made public. Jennifer will learn whether both she and the man who was expelled from college for sexually assaulting her will be able to practice law in the state of California. Angela Carone, KPBS News.